I'm Marlise Burton, and I am one of the Fuse Fellows for this year's cohort. I am the Plavid MCL at Lincoln Middle School, and I teach sixth grade ELA, sixth grade AVID, and a seventh grade AIS class. And then I'll let Ms. Gach introduce herself also.
Hi everyone, my name is Mads Gach. I do 7th grade ELA and 7th grade AVID at Lincoln Middle School. And then below we've put our emails, but also we have our...
Did you freeze? Oh, I think she froze. But what Mads was saying is that we have our Twitter information. If I have a Twitter account that's a district account, and then we do both have our Instagram accounts that we share with the kids. And again, just as we're going to go through all of the platforms that we've tried to use over the last 10 or 11 weeks in trial and error. And just to make sure that if you're choosing to do a social media account that's through the district, make sure that you're sharing your password with your administrators just so they have the ability to log on and see anything that you're posting. But these are the ways that you are able to contact us. I'm going to copy and paste this and put it in the chat also in case anybody wants to follow along with the PowerPoint. And then anything else that you guys need at the end, we're also going to send that in an email or any other resources that you saw that you would like to see, or we can also add you to our Canvas classes. So our agenda for today is that we are going to go through pretty much like the overarching umbrella is going to be Canvas. That's our platform at Lincoln Middle School as of March. I'm probably saying not even giving us a day, but as of March 20th, about 95% of our staff were on Canvas, and our kids were accessing Canvas as the main focus of their instruction ever since pretty much a week after we went home for COVID. So Gach and I also have used Canvas in our classes at school. So that was super helpful that the kids had a little bit of knowledge from being in the physical classroom, moving over to being at home. Her and I both teach one class that's the same, like her AIS kids she sees for ELA. So we do a lot of like planning and talking together about how to help out our kiddos together. But one thing that her and I kind of realized is that even though we went through Canvas with our kids in person and used a lot of digital platforms in person, the kids when they got home still struggled with remembering everything that we kind of had talked about without having kind of those structures in place in our classrooms of having like personal anchor charts or having a station leader or, having PowerPoints up on the board to remind them what to do. So her and I talked a lot about how do we make a lot of those modifications and accommodations for our kids in the physical classroom available to them digitally, so then they really have as many resources as possible for when they're at home.
And one of the things about kind of what we're presenting today is that while Canvas is our platform that we are using in our building, the other three things that we're going to be talking about are kind of choices that we've made that have helped us not only to implement Canvas better, but also to connect with our students better. Because, I mean, even if you look at like social media, nobody just has a Facebook. They have a Facebook and an Instagram and a Twitter, and there are lots of different ways to be able to communicate with people. So same with online learning, it's nice to be able to use a few different platforms in our planning and communication with our students.
And even like this PowerPoint, like her and I have tried to figure out like what are some really cool ways to give kids something that's visually pleasing. So just another plug, Slides Go is an amazing place where you can download to your laptop or on Google Slides a different template. And then that's the piece about with our Instagram posts that we're going to talk about using Canva. And I mean, I want to do an even better job of doing that in the classroom physically, because it's a way to link PDFs and documents for your kids on a flyer or invitation or a post. So that's another thing that we've both been using a lot since we've been home to help make things a little bit more engaging for kids. Any questions so far with kind of where we're at first? And again, you're more than welcome to put any questions in the chat. If I'm talking, Gach will be checking the chat, and when she's presenting, I'll be checking over the chat. But we will have time at the end for questions. And we also, this wasn't in the PL Showcase schedule, but on Friday, Mads and I are going to be available between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. for you to pop in for office hours if there's any one-on-one conversations you guys want to have. So our first topic is going to be Canvas. So again, it's our overall arching umbrella. Linked here is the SCSD Padlet that has been prepared by the district PL coaches, and there's been things added throughout our time being home, just some other help videos about how to set up your Canvas, more of the basic like nuts and bolts, because we're going to be going through and talking about more of like the advanced options of how to add to your Canvas class. So one thing that we did at Lincoln is that we kind of really encouraged that everybody use the homepage option instead of just taking kids to the modules. When the kids go to the modules, it is really confusing for them to know, like, what the heck am I supposed to do first? It's almost like having, at some buildings, I know they have a whiteboard protocol where the kids come in, they do their do now. You have your whiteboard with your learning target, your agenda, your exit ticket, and the date, or even homework. So what we did is that we found it really successful to use the homepage option. We're going to show you our differences. I did figure out how to do the Bitmoji classroom thanks to Sammy Marnin, another Fuse fellow this year, and a Lincoln teacher. She is doing her PD at 3 p.m. today and 10 a.m. tomorrow as like another plug. But that has been super helpful because you can embed links and you can be like, this is what I need you to do now, and the kids can click on it and go right to that link. Also, one thing that has been really helpful that we have figured out is doing an introduction video for all the modules, and we're going to show you what that looks like. But before the kids start any work, they have to watch a video that shows them the order they're supposed to complete their activities, and it's pretty much like your front loading or modeling of your class, where the kids get your voice and a visual to see what they're supposed to be doing during the week or how to complete that module. Also, we found it really helpful to create the module requirements and prerequisites where the kids have to work in order, or they have to work from top to bottom, or they have to at least watch the first video before they move on to the next page. And then the last thing that I personally found really helpful was, and if you know me, and I know some people in this group do, I have like an OCD problem where I don't like being out of control of what's happening. And in my classroom, like, I have a very good pulse on everything, and doing a Zoom class was very uncomfortable for me because, and I get it, like, I have my 5-year-old at home and stuff like that, but like kids talking to their siblings, like, that messes me up. So I found it more powerful to like videotape my lesson and post it on Canvas for kids to watch at their own pace, versus me having class Tuesdays and Thursdays and the same 7 kids show up and then the other kids aren't getting the material. So recording your Zoom classes, like how we're recording now, and then posting it for kids, and then they can access it at their own pace. But yeah, I had a problem with that where I was like, I will just record myself and then post it. And I've done it also where I've talked for 20 minutes and forgot to record, and that was a whole other thing. But those are some of the positives I found, and then I'm going to let Gak go ahead and talk about some of hers.
And just before I talk about mine real fast, we might be saying things like creating module requirements, and you're like, I'm not really sure what that is. We will be showing you in just a second with some screenshots exactly what we're talking about and how to make those happen. For me, I do my home pages a little bit different. Mine are mostly in like the screen you just saw. I use more like words and links, and I try to color coordinate so that my students can kind of follow while they're reading, but the colors are what stand out to them. And I also include weekly schedules in the homepage so they know, okay, today on Monday I have ELA work and this is what I'm doing. I have on Wednesday ELA work and this is what I'm doing. And I also put my Zooms for my different classes in the schedule too. So it's just a way for them to go right onto my page and keep track, almost like, you know, the agenda that I might have them do in class. I also try to use images as much as possible to connect with our interests. Just like little things that we might have talked about in class, or like my kids know that I'm a cat lady, so I always have a picture of cats reading books when they enter my room, just like a little thing to kind of make them smile, so it's not just always here's all the work you have to do, that's it, you know, because we try to build those relationships as much as possible. So putting in pictures of their interests or my interests, just and things that they like know about me, it's just a nice way to kind of tie it all together. I try to use icons to represent different ideas, or like I might even insert one of my classroom posters in there just so that they, like, it's a familiar thing that they saw in my classroom that they're now also seeing here, and they just see how that information is constantly being used. Also, I have little icons to represent, like, if you need to chat, here's where you can go, or this is what the inbox looks like. Make sure you're finding that icon. So this is an example of my homepage. As you can see, there's a header that I put. I really tried to manipulate font size here, so it's not all size 12, because I know some students are using their phones and it just makes it easier to read. So if you can see, the things that are highlighted are the things that they're doing. The green modules link, it actually takes them from the home page to the modules without them having to go to the side. After they're done reading what they have to do for the week, they can just click the modules link that's right in front of them. As you can see, I did my Tuesdays and Thursday Zooms, and that's something that's consistently been happening. So either, they were doing work for me Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, but I always had the Zooms on the same day. And then they knew that they could do review for those modules during the Zoom. So they could see exactly what they were going to get out of the Zooms. They could see exactly what they had to do on each of the days. And so that was generally pretty helpful for us. And then on the next slide, this is always at the bottom of my thing where I give them all the different ways that they can contact me. This stays on my homepage every single time. I might just change the colors. And it was really helpful because even if there was somebody who didn't get onto my remind in that first week, I still have people jumping onto my remind sometimes. I'm like, okay, we're on talking points. But if that was the easiest way for us to get communication, that's what we did. So I always had that there so that they could contact me.
And then this is how I progress my homepage into using the Bitmoji Google Doc. This was Gak and I both, and we're going to share some pictures at the end that we're going to send out. But we really take a lot of time, especially as the 6th and 7th grade AVID teachers, to make sure that the kids have a lot of resources hanging up, like their wicker posters and their tutorial information and their focus note-taking information. So this was one way that the both of us were kind of taking what we've done in our classroom and bringing it over to the digital platform to make the kids feel a little bit more like consistency. I mean, our kids are being home and it's hard. So these are some things that they've noticed. I will change my Bitmoji once a week just to see like different outfits and different things. We did also do, for example, this is like where we put some shout outs to encourage kids to be completing activities. So we did do STAR this month at Lincoln, and we also did the panorama survey. So we've been shouting out kids just the same way that we would do it in our classroom. The kids have their announcements here, and then here's like their agenda for what they need to do at the beginning of the week. And then this link, if they click on it, will take them right to the STAR link, so then they can open it up and get to where they need to go. And then another thing too that we've talked about as a building is to make sure that we have less links for the kids to click on over here on the left-hand side. That was something that was talked about in the Canvas like 101 classes that the PL coaches were offering, that if the kids only have the option of the modules or announcements or grades, they have no other way to get to the activities. So if they have to go through the module route, then that means that they're going to see the activities and the assignments in the order that you want them to go in.
In the chat, we do have a kind of question. Unsure what a Bitmoji is. The Bitmoji there is, it's the character that looks like Marlise. So you're able to make a character, and in this case, they kind of made it so you could make a classroom, but you're making a virtual kind of representation of yourself so that when your students log in, they can see someone that looks like you, which obviously isn't perfect, but right now it's kind of one of the closest things that we have.
And the Bitmoji, so the one thing that's tricky that has had to take like some extra work is like I use my home laptop a lot. So you have to put like the Bitmoji extension in your browser, but the school laptops I think have blocked it, but there's a way to like save it on your phone, email it to yourself, and then like black out the rest of it. But again, 3 p.m. today, that's being offered as a class, and then 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. But if you want to come to our office hours at 11 o'clock, I also can walk you guys through this. So this is the part where what Gak and I were talking about with the organization of the modules, I think is going to help. So this essentially picture is a screenshot of a module that my kiddos did this year. And sorry, I was looking at the chat. So what we do is that we put the week that they're supposed to be doing things in. So these are all their activities for the week. And what I've done is that I'll release like the Monday, Tuesday activities for the beginning of the week, and then I'll post the rest later in the week so they don't blow through it all in one day and they kind of have to pace themselves or feel a little overwhelmed. So one thing that we really recommend is using the text headers. So when you're creating your module and you hit the plus button, you can click text header and there's nothing tied to it for the kids to click on. So it literally will just say like, do this first or Monday, Tuesday, or whatever you want to type. And there's nothing for them to click. It just is helping you organize the module.
I found that if I want to offer the students choice, the text header is the best way to do it because I could post their choice options below it. And then in the text header, I just write choose one activity to do. So it's giving them the instruction. It shows them, oh, I only have to do one of these. But it's easier than putting that as the instructions in both of the things. Things meaning activities in both of the activities. So it's a good way to add directions too.
And then over on the, after I move your faces, in the red circle, that's the part that we're talking about with creating some terms for the kids to complete the module. So the kids have to complete all the items in this module. So in the beginning of like March and April, I was noticing that the kids, because we've used Canvas before, we're like, oh, this is a discussion. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to go through and add my discussion and skip everything else. So this way they have to physically go in order of the way that you want them to. This is where I put this week's directions video and they physically had to watch that before they went on to the other activities. And they even have to like mark the page as being done. So they can't just like look at the video, not play it, and then keep it moving. They physically have to watch the video and then mark it as done. And then we can show you once we get through this, we're going to open up our Canvas classes for you guys. And then the screen recordings are the best thing. So in this PowerPoint, which the PowerPoint is in the chat, there are 3 embedded links for you guys. One of them is about they're just examples of what I've done with my kids. I did cut out the kids' faces in one of them, but one of them is just me sitting on my couch going through the activities with the kids in the order they're supposed to go in. Another video was an actual class that we had that I posted the video afterwards for the kids to watch on their own. But using a screen recording, just like now, you can open up a Zoom class to yourself. Nobody else is in there. You share your screen, you record it, and then you can save it and post it on Canvas. Any questions about that? And then Gaktu is going to talk a little bit more about different screen recordings because she's going to talk about her YouTube channel. So the next piece we're going to talk about is how we've kind of used our Instagram accounts to increase kids knowing like how to do things, and also like we secretly spy on our kids. This has been another way for us to get in contact with them. Like I've said to a couple parents, like I can see your child going live on Instagram, so I know that they can get on Canvas if they're going live. So this is an example of one of our posts that we've used just as a story and as a regular post on our feed to let the kids know like this is the new module and when the Zoom meeting is. And then just again, like something that I think our kids, especially in the age of like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok with all the different filters, instead of just having like a text message sent out there, it's almost like a flyer or an invitation where then they're more likely to read this. And again, just to make sure that you guys are doing this, keep this as a separate account rather than like your personal one, and making sure that it is public so then kids can like it and they don't necessarily have to like add you. And what we've done is that we've done a combination of posting on our story and our feed. Mm-hmm. Gak, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I have found that like even sometimes they maybe don't remember things. Like I put up a post this week that said, this is the last full week of school. So if you're going to get work in, like make sure you're checking School Tool. And I've had so many just replying, asking, you know, how do I check on School Tool again? Where can I find School Tool? Just all these different things where it's a nice reminder as they're kind of maybe even just kind of mindlessly scrolling where they're able to kind of see it and be like, oh, I have work I have to do. So it's definitely helped kind of bring back the agenda.
And then this is the other free website that we use to kind of create those Instagram posts. Our weekly update that our coach sends out every week is also created through Canva at Lincoln. So what we've done, especially too with like trying to get Avid information out there, we're trying to, Gak and I, like create different things like invitations. So this is a screenshot of my Canva account. So here's a couple posts that I did. Here's some of the Avid things that we've created and printed out and hung up at Lincoln. It is free. There are certain like images and features and filters that aren't free that you would have to pay for. So when you create your account and search for templates and icons, just make sure that they're the free ones. Sometimes the other ones are super cute and you might want to like pay an extra dollar for it, but everything for the most part that we have done is free. And then you download it as a PDF and then you can send it in an email. You can do a screenshot and post it as a picture, or you can post it on your social media. And then here is the link also. It really is just www.canva.com, but here's the link in case you want to go right there. And then I'm gonna let Gak talk about how she uses it.
I actually even use Canva for my classroom posters. So if you'll look here, I have the 5 phases of focused note taking on the top. My Wicker strategy posters I designed to match my classroom because I'm a little bit of a psycho in that way where everything needs to match. I've got my Costa's level of questioning, and I even just have some like nice kind of reminders that I hang up in my classroom, like the "You matter, you are not alone" or "Celebrate progress." And even just some things like I went to an Avid conference and they had a parking lot. And so I made my own parking lot where students could, no, you're okay, where they could put their own questions on their way out the door. So these are just some things where sometimes I print them out and students keep them in their Avid binders. Sometimes when I'm working on Canvas, because I know they've seen the 5 phases of note taking or they've seen the Costas levels of questions, I can put those into an assignment. I can embed them in. And so they're able to see, oh yeah, if I have to write questions for this activity, I know what kind of questions I can write. And they've already seen them before, they've worked with them before. I have for my posters that are on here, I have a, what's it called? Teachers Pay Teachers. I have an account on there. But also, like, if you ever like wanted to email me or come into the office hours and request that I could design a poster for you, I'd be more than happy to do that.
And I think too, just to go back for a second, because we kind of, this is kind of like our huge like virtual throw up of the entire school year, where we really do like talk a lot about how we can do things where like the 6th graders are going to the next grade and how we can have some connections between our Avid classes. But this is a lot. And that's why we're offering the office hours for you to like, you know, sit back, sleep on it, process what are some of the things that you've noticed here, and come and ask us privately. Or as you look back through the video that I'm going to send out, we'll send the video again and the PowerPoint. Pick one thing that you think like, okay, this is something really cool that I think would transform my teaching for next year. Or if you're doing summer school, because it is kind of a lot. But this also has been super cool for Mads and I to like think like, oh my God, like this has been super overwhelming and hard to be home. But now I kind of know how I want to kick off things next year for our kids, and even whether we're in the classroom or not in the classroom. Like I did not know about using Print Shop in this matter, where like if I create a PDF in this picture and I send it to Print Shop, I can have any anchor chart that I want. Like I love making anchor charts. That's like my stress relief. But these are so cool that you can make on your own and then have them forever and get them laminated. So this is like amazing. That is just another thing we wanted to share. But again, we're giving you guys a lot of information. So again, please come on Friday and just chat with us and ask more questions about like individual things that you want, or just take away 1 or 2 things that maybe you would want to do with your kids. Because again, this literally was like 10 months in the works.
Yeah, these posters I made all over the summer. I was designing my classroom and thinking of all the things I wanted. So this is something that my kids have been seeing for a long time. But then once I was able to incorporate it back into my Canvas classroom, they were like, oh, I remember that poster. Like, oh, characterization, I remember that, you know? So it was something that I've been doing for a long time. It wasn't just when all of this started, I decided I was going to whip up a bunch of posters. That would have been a lot of time.
But these are like beautiful. Okay, so our next piece that we're going to transition to is YouTube. So first, Gak's YouTube channel is way better than mine. My kids made fun of me because I went live on Instagram and like I couldn't check the the comments at the same time. My son was in it. I thought everything was backwards, but then it wasn't backwards. So I give influencers a lot more credit now because that is incredibly difficult. So Gak is going to talk about her YouTube channel. And then here also is a video that I created for our Lincoln staff about how to start your YouTube channel and what settings you need to put in place. But right now, Gak's going to go through and explain how she used her YouTube channel in connection with Canvas.
This is one of those things that, as Marlise was talking about, she was saying like, now we know kind of what we want to do more in the future. YouTube is definitely something where I'm thinking about all the different ways I can incorporate it next year, because even having done the few things that I've done now, it's just completely blown my mind as to what I could do. So these are a couple like benefits to using YouTube that I just wanted to throw out there. The first is that even though we're separated, I can still teach content. Some of the videos that you can do, like I set up like I was doing like a little lecture in my classroom or a whole group instruction where I set up a whiteboard and I printed out maps or printed out examples of propaganda when we were reading a novel, and was just able to like showcase some of the things where I felt like I had my little own classroom at my desk at home, but it was done through a video so that they could get it anywhere. It does allow you to have like a thematic approach to what you're doing versus sometimes in Zoom. I know a lot of times I'm just fielding student questions. So being able to like go in, plan out my lesson, have it all up there was really interesting. It does give you the chance to connect with anyone, anywhere. All of our kids have the YouTube app on their phone. They're all watching their favorite YouTubers. I've been hearing tons of recommendations from my kids about it. So it was interesting to have them then subscribe to me. And they could be able to go on the YouTube channel and kind of just figure out where we are every week. But it's helpful for both remote and in person, because even if we go back to school in the fall and everything is, you know, back to how it was before, this is a way for them to access lessons when they're not with you. So if they're doing their homework and they need to be able to reference something that you talked about in class, you've got that video there for them to be able to use. I love being able to personalize my videos for my kiddos, like specifically addressing questions that they've asked me throughout the week. So I might be like, Griffin asked this really great question on Wednesday, and I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about what he asked and the answer to that. Just like in class, if you have a student who asks a really good question that you want everyone to know, and you're like, everyone listen up, this amazing question was just asked and I want to bring it to everyone's attention. So that was a nice way to kind of take notes of things that were going on throughout the week. And on Friday, I was able to just kind of dish it out with their permission, of course. It was also nice to be able to showcase student work on it. So like I would read student examples of answers to questions that they posted throughout the week. And it was nice for students to get that little shout out and to feel like really cool in a YouTube video. It's a new medium for students to craft in. So not only are you able to make YouTube videos, but once you kind of figure out the ins and outs of it, you can have students be able to use that as a way to create projects too. And a lot of them are aspiring YouTube influencers as well. So it'd be interesting for them to get a take behind the camera. And then finally, it's just nice to be able to engage in different environments that are not always the classroom, and they can see how the skills that they learn in your classroom are applicable everywhere. So I could even be recording outside for my YouTube video, and you know, they can see different sceneries that might go along with what you're talking about. On the next slide, it's a screenshot of my YouTube channel, and I just wanted to show you all the different types of videos I've been making. So for example, when there are some where I just record myself reading the text that's on Canvas. There are some where I give instructional videos, like the how to access your STAR test. It's an easy way where if a bunch of people are asking different questions, you record 1 3-minute video, send them all a YouTube link. You could link the YouTube link into your talking points or your text messages with parents or emails. So it was a nice way to explain everything all at once and then just send out the link. You can do content reviews or analysis. So if you see the bottom right corner, Code Talkers chapter 24 through 29, after they had done kind of like their work with it, I synthesized everything that they had been working with and talking about and put it into that as kind of a review. Providing background info. If you see the Harry Potter background info, we had done the second book of Harry Potter in our ELA modules, and I was like, what if they didn't read the first one, or what if they didn't see the movies? So I took a couple minutes to kind of geek out with myself and tell them some Harry Potter things. And then finally, guided annotations. If you see the Taming of the Shrew induction reading or the Hamlet annotations, I basically wrote out the poem and explained to them all the different layers in the poem. And this was particularly good for some of my ENL students or some of my CT classes, where they were able to kind of see like exactly what was going on in the poem to then be able to speak to it. So these are just some of the different things that you can use YouTube for. It's not always just you sitting in front of the camera and saying, this is how you do this. And then finally, you kind of have to figure out what plan works for you. So like I just explained, the first box here has content lessons. Like, do you want to use YouTube to just get your content across? In the middle box, do you want to use it for annotations where they have the text and you help them break it down? And then finally, there's the category of like how-to videos where maybe you're addressing frequently asked questions, or you're doing a specific mini lesson to help a group of students where maybe to make this personalized, you know, you're working with some students and you realize all of them are having trouble with the reasoning portion of a CER. Well, if you send out this YouTube video to all 6 of those students in the class, then they're able to get a little mini lesson in the help that they need, whereas you're not sending it out to every single person. So it's kind of up to you how you can use YouTube, and you can use it in all of these ways if you want, but you just kind of have to think what video is best going to help my purpose. And then on the bottom, we put a couple different ways that you can make videos. For example, I have a Chromebook and I use Hippo Video because it's an attachment I can get for a Chromebook, but like Screencast-O-Matic is good for like Windows. You could just use your phone camera to do it, or you could record on like a Zoom meeting, even if you just had a Zoom meeting with, you know, yourself and it was empty, but you hit record and just talk to the camera, that's recording a video for you.
Another thing, if you have a MacBook too, QuickTime Player also is super helpful. That's another thing that you can like record the screen. But again, like knowing like what your device can do is also like really helpful. But there's just a couple different options that we've found. And then also in Canvas, you can record yourself talking as a video, and we're going to walk you guys through that too as another option. So we also, and again, like I had explained that it was really weird for me to like do a lesson and like pretend like it was a real classroom, and that was weird. But we have set up office hours for our kids. We also, so Kristen Cosgrove and I, she's our instructional coach at Lincoln. We have office hours for teachers every day between 2:30 and 3, where some teachers who weren't in the same position as Mads and I to like get on and to get some Canvas help. We've done that. But we have done office hours with our kids, so then they can hop on, ask any questions. Like one girl was texting me today during this training, just like how to check in, ask a question that they don't really feel comfortable asking in front of somebody else, or even to like just do some work with you sitting there. Again, we did STAR this past week for ELA, and I would put kids in breakout rooms so they could just take it with me sitting there kind of. And I wish that I had done that a little bit more during the time that we were home, because then it's like they can be there doing the work, and then I'm over here like, you know, catching up on grading or any other work, and they can ask me questions as they want. Again, we're both the avid teachers, so I had a couple kids ask me if they could do a tutorial with me over Zoom, and we would hop on and go through like the tutorial request form process, just one-on-one instead of getting a bunch of kids. So, and again, like because it's the personalized learning showcase, we found this to be super helpful for us to personalize what our kids need and give them like an option. Like a couple of teachers at Lincoln were like, okay, I'll do a Zoom with you and your 2 best friends. Let's do that. And then that got more kids coming on to access the lessons.
And it's different than doing like a mandatory meeting, because I know some students maybe feel uncomfortable with being on camera or having their voices heard. And also with mandatory meetings, there's a lot of pressure to it. Whereas office hours kind of promote the idea of self-reflection and self-advocacy, where students are coming in when they need it. They're willing to ask questions, and it really encourages the idea of let's investigate. If you have a problem, let's figure it out together. Instead of maybe I'm going to sit silently because the whole rest of my class is in the Zoom and I don't want to sound dumb for asking the question. And it also gives you the chance to kind of self-reflect, if they know that they have a problem with something in the class, or they're struggling, they can come to you and you can have like a mini conference with them versus it being like a whole class, which I know in my classroom for ELA, we really preferred to have like those one-on-one check-ins or those small group conferences versus, lecture classes. And also just the idea of collaboration, where a group of us might get on together and the poem was really difficult. So let's all just talk it through together through these office hours, instead of me telling you, you all have to be here. I'm going to call on you. You have to tell me what the poem means. And that's that. So it was a nice way to collaborate and be in a closer knit environment to be able to talk things out.
And another thing too that we've both kind of done over the last couple of weeks, especially with like the state of, everything right now, and keeping our kids in our minds of like, how do we create a really solid environment for them to open up to us about their concerns digitally? Because I know that the both of us would really like carve out some serious time during our classes to talk about what's happening right now and the injustices in the world. And we're making it that, we're having these office hours for kids, and we're doing a discussion post where it's like, hey, if you want to get on and join office hours or just check in and talk about whatever you want to talk about, even if you don't know how you're feeling, that has been super important over the last couple of weeks, because, our kids are super overwhelmed in general. And then everything else that's going on has just been like another layer that I can't even imagine how they're feeling. So that's another thing that we've kind of tried to do the last couple of weeks.
And when you get into, because the whole theme of our presentation here is having that environment in your classroom where they feel like they can talk to you and where they can really work through their problems, and being able to transfer that over to online. When you have office hours where students can come in and just, talk to you, they feel like you're somebody they can turn to. And I've actually had students message me requesting I set up office hours for the 7th grade team where people can just come in and talk. And sometimes it's targeted conversation where they want to talk about something specific, but also sometimes it's, hey, miss, I know you sometimes do office hours. Do you think we could set one up for Friday at 4:00 where we all can just kind of talk and be together? And it's one of those things where like, one, breaks your heart because of everything that's going on right now, but also just it's really reassuring to know that they do rely on the classroom community and that you have created something that they value. And so when you're all in this talking together, whether it be about school or about what's going on in the world.
So we kind of got to the end of like our PowerPoint presentation. Again, this is going to be the Zoom link and the password and information for Friday. So same thing, Gak and I will be on between 11 and 12. We will be sitting here waiting for you all to join and kind of chat with us. Specifically, if you want, we can schedule like smaller chunks where to make sure that you're heard. Like if you would want a more private conversation, our day is pretty open pretty much after that point, like myself personally. So again, if you want to do anything with us one-on-one in that time or anywhere else, let us know. Gak, do you want to finish what you said?
Yeah, I don't know where I cut off, but just the concept of we want to take the welcoming community that we had in our classroom and be able to shift it to online as if nothing's changed. And they really do feel like that they can connect to you if you still put in the same effort to connect with them.
So before we kind of like go through and actually like show you how to change the settings in some of the modules, are there any like questions or anything that you guys are wondering before we move on to like the next part? And this is also like the most awkward thing too. Like when you're like talking to people, like I would like go stand next to children, like stare at them really hard until they answered me. And now like you can't do that. So it's so hard when you're away from each other. Perfect. So what we're going to do is that I'm just going to show you again. So this is my teacher page. So all these things on the side, the kids don't see. And then for the person that was asking about the Bitmoji, So I have the extension on my MacBook, so I can click on this, and then all these like fun little pictures come up of me. Like these are all the ones I've used in the past. And you can search like pizza. Like my kids know I love pizza. So then you know that you can put all these pictures in there if you want, and you copy it and paste it into a Google slide. And the Google slide, after you embed the picture into your page, it works. But that's like a whole other conversation that's kind of hard. But this
Again,
you can
plug in
Marnin.
Sammy Martins.
So there's that piece. But when you are creating a module, or let's say you import a module from the Commons, what you're going to do is, so this is what my kids had to do last week with STAR. So what we did is that they had no assignments for the week. They had all these different windows where they could come on with me, and literally I was sitting here waiting for them between 2 and 3:30, 10 and 12, 10:30 and 12, 10 and 1. And they literally, I made it that they had to read these directions, which is the first piece. And then in each assignment, I put in the video that Gok recorded, but this is the first page that they have to look at. And then what I also did to show you guys how to edit your module like requirements, over here on the right-hand side, that's where you're gonna find your 3 dots. And you are going to click on that. And then it's gonna ask you to edit the module. And when you hit edit, you can lock it until a certain point. Like let's say you're doing your prep work on a Friday and you don't want the kids to see it till Monday, you can lock it. And then the requirements is where you're gonna go in and the kids have to go back and do things in a certain order. So I'm gonna get rid of this and show you from scratch. So when you add a requirement, you can either do that they must complete one of these requirements, so then it gives you all the different activities that you put in there. And then you can change it from view the item, mark as done, or contribute to the page. So like if it was a discussion or an assignment, they would physically have to contribute to the page before moving on. And then you can continue to add different things for them to do for the requirements. Or you could make it that they have to complete all of the requirements and click this one, and they have to go in sequential order. So that means that if I save these settings, it would pop up that they have to view the first page, they have to complete everything in order, not skipping around from Monday to Friday to Tuesday back to Thursday. So that has been super helpful with increasing kids doing things in the right way that we want them to, and how we've made the kids watch the videos that we've posted.
Especially if you have like something where you're building on the previous day, or even like the previous week or whatever it might be, having them work in the specific order just, you know, kind of reassures you that they are looking at it first and then going in and actually doing the activity.
So like, for example, this is their ELA activity for this week. So again, they have to read the directions first, and then I've asked them just to like check in to let me know if they need a one-on-one conference, if they are okay, how are they feeling with everything that's going on. I posted some pictures from our Lincoln representation at the protest this weekend. And then I'm having the kids post and just let me know what they need in the first part. And then I'll go back and look at that to see who do I need to set up a personal conversation with. Then when they go back to the module, they'll see that these are their first activities for them to do Monday and Tuesday. Again, quizzes are like life-changing for the kids. They can access them so much better on phones, tablets, even on the computer, where we just see a lot more kids doing quizzes, and you can take any activity and put it in a quiz format. You don't have to grade it as a quiz, but we've seen teachers doing like writing responses where they post a video of themselves talking in that first part, and they're like, okay, what is your claim to this question? Put your claim here. Next question. Okay, what is your evidence? And the teacher talks through it and gives it to them in that scaffolded way to help reach some of our IEP kids. And then tomorrow they're going to see their new activities, which I haven't done yet, for the rest of the week. So again, so this is the header part. And then for you to add a header, you're just going to hit the plus sign. You're going to click text header. And again, there's nothing that they have to add in. You could just type in like, do this first, and then it'll pop up, and there's nothing attached to it, and then you just move it where you need to move it. And then again, just make sure you're hitting the green check mark button. Any questions with that also while we're like in the Canvas course? So like, again, this is another module that they had to do for Avid. It's complete all the items, just that they have to go in order. Another thing that I want to show you guys too, when you hit the plus button, one thing that like as a building at Lincoln, we kind of are like, okay, well, we don't want to do this, is like an external URL or a file. Because when it shows up to the kids, it's really confusing for them to be like, okay, like I have to click on this file, then I have to go back to the discussion, then I have to click on the file, and then I have to do a quiz. So what we've been trying to do is make sure that everything that the kids need are physically in Canvas. They don't have to go to Newsella and do the quiz and then tell you what they got. So for example, another thing that we've done is that they have gotten their like Newsella article. So I found this article where it was about HBCUs for our Avid activity, because we're Avid school-wide. And, well, that's the video. And I copy and pasted and did more work on my end. This article is from Newsella. I copy and pasted it into a quiz, and then I did the questions myself. So then I'm doing more of the heavy lifting instead of sending kids to like 3 different websites and have them have to worry about all that, because that's really confusing for them. Like, especially like me and Gak and our 8th grade ELA teachers, we talk about the differences between like my little 6th grade babies and the 8th graders, and they still struggle. So having everything in Canvas for them is super helpful.
And you can, like, one thing that has been nice with YouTube too is I don't just throw the link in there and make them go find it. I embed the video into a page, or I can even embed the video into like the screen text, where if I'm reading it, they could click on the video and listen to me read while they scroll down and read the text. So you can have these videos where they're playing, they're not opening up into big things, they're staying on the page, but they can hear you talking about it while you're actually doing it. So it's a nice way to keep everything concise and in one place.
So like this is the video that got created for STAR. So what we did was, it's a page and the kids have the links in here, and then there's the video right there that they can hit plus or hit play, and then they can just play it from there, which is super helpful. A whole other thing too that like we just thought would be very overwhelming in this presentation is that using Edpuzzle and using Office 365 in your Canvas class is also super helpful. So if you're interested in any of that, let us know. Because I know like Gak and I have recorded some videos, and then we've used our voice over it in the Edpuzzle format. That PD has been available with the 4 district PL coaches, and like legit, it is like life-changing, because you can do a check for understanding question right in Canvas.
Yeah, and the Office 365 one also lets you create templates, whether it be a graphic organizer, a PowerPoint template, whatever you want, and then you can submit it to students and embed it right into Canvas for them to be able to manipulate and type within. So that has been nice too, because I know a lot of my students rely so heavily on graphic organizers to help them work through their thoughts.
And it was super weird for us, because we've encouraged them to use so many different types of notes, like Cornell notes, web organizers, 2-column, 3-column. So it was almost like that we like took away their training wheels, and they weren't ready to do that yet. So once we figured out how to do the 365 documents, and they edit right in the browser right here, and you can use your speed grader, this has been amazing to give the kids the opportunity to read their text and go back and then fill in their graphic organizer. So what I do is that I make their graphic organizer, put the directions right in the Word document, and then I include the story right in the bottom, so then they can go back and forth in one window. And again, we can show you how to embed 365 in our office hours too, as if you are interested in that. And then I can show you an Edpuzzle. Oh, it shows up as having to be graded, so it's not the same thing. But this was a lot of information. And now that like I'm talking, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is really a lot, and I apologize.
It was really our virtual throw up.
It was a virtual throw up, so we apologize for that, but we just are trying to think about all the things that we've learned over the last 11 weeks. And, you know, with everything being so uncertain, about how to give you guys all like the highlight reel of what we learned. Here's the mistakes. Here's what you could do next. But if anyone has any questions, you can ask now. We'll hang on for a few minutes. or you can join our office hours again on Friday, or you can email us because we are both on our emails, and the PowerPoint is linked in the chat, and we will also send it in an email to everybody.
Basically, we are here and we want to be able to help you in any way that we can. So if there's even something you're thinking might work for you, but you're just not sure how or why or when, that's where we come in.
And us piggybacking off of each other has been like, and we've only worked together for 1 year, like literally, like this is my sister from another mister. And it's like, we have done so much just like talking things out with each other, that having that like thought partner has been amazing. Like Carrie O'Connor, you and me and Sarah and Kelly used to do that at Westside, but now we don't have that. And I miss that so much. But just having someone to like bounce ideas off of, that we're here to help you if you need that. So if everyone's good, we are all set. We will hang on for another few minutes if anybody has any questions. But again, think about joining our office hours and let us know what else you guys need.
Just wanted to say thank you. It was awesome.
Outstanding. Yay!
Thank you.
The little bit that I knew, I realized there's a lot more to do.
There's like so much. It's like literally, I don't even have a good analogy, and those are my things. Like every week, like we find something new that we're like, oh my God, like let's try this. And then it keeps like the kids engaged, because you're always changing it. Like it's not the same old, like here's an article, here's a quiz. Because ELA can get kind of boring on here, where they read a passage and they do some questions. So us keeping them on their toes. And that's aligned with our personalities too with our kids. We're like, we try to be super weird and then they embrace our weirdness. But anything you need, let us know.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I'll be in touch.
All right, yeah, let us